Howdy tubers, welcome back to the Zach Life. So I've got to start on the interior. I've got to start putting walls up. I've got to start some things to get things finished. And I've been really dragging my feet on the inside here because this isn't really what I'm good at, and I'm not particularly excited about it. Now, from this point forward, I'm going to try to get this thing usable as quickly as possible. I realize it's going to be months and months down the road, but I want to make sure that I'm not in the front worried about a cabinet or a countertop when that isn't going to affect the usability of this at all. I'd like to take it somewhere this summer, and if the front room is still just like it is, completely unfinished, it'll still be plenty usable enough to set a table and an electric cooktop and whatever and pull my rock crawler to Colorado, and that's my plan. Now, I'm going to start in the bedroom for two reasons. Is one, once you get the bed in here, it's going to be hard to do anything else. I'd like to have it completely finished before I move forward, because you can take a dump on the toilet without a wall in here, but if you put the mattress in here, it's going to be hard to sand sheetrock without having dust everywhere. And the other thing is if I want to have something screwed up, I want it to be in the bedroom. And the reason is obviously someone comes over here and sees it, they're walking in the main room, I want it to look nice. If there's a little screw up or something behind the mattress of the bed, it doesn't matter, and so I want to use this sort of as an experimental deal. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about what I'm going to do, and then we'll go over it in detail in the next couple of videos. But basically, I'm just going to take a high-grade AB plywood and put everywhere. Half-inch plywood walls, half-inch plywood ceiling, at least back here. It's going to be a little bit thinner in the front, and we'll go over that a little bit later. I've got a really cool idea, I think, for the ceiling in the front. But anyway, half-inch plywood, and I'm basically just going to tape and bed all the seams. But anyway, over here on this side, it's going to have a stand-up full, basically a closet, if you would, with a little nightstand and everything. Anyway, I'll put a piece of 4x8 sheet there, and I can hide the seam of that wall behind the cabinet. I'll have a piece of trim that runs down the center of the room here to hide some seams the best I can. I'll still have to tape and bed quite a few, but if there's a long seam and there's some way to make it look nice by hiding it, that's what I'm going to do. So let's do it. So what I'm putting together here is basically going to be half of the box springs for the mattress. Now this part will go over the generator cavity, and it's extra thick because I'm going to put this blow-in insulation. Of course, I'm not going to blow it in. You'll see me in just a minute. And that insulation will work both as a acoustic and thermal barrier between the bottom of the mattress and the generator cavity. I get this screwed down here, and then I'm going to take some great stuff and spray between the 2x6 and the spray foam insulation to keep any kind of smells from being able to come up behind the wall. This little outer wall here to this section that'll be the box spring effectively. This is actually where the water tank is going to go. And somehow or another I didn't get the video of me building the lid to this thing. But there's just simply a lid that goes over the top of this, and you'll be able to pick it up along with the mattress and get to the water tank and all the plumbing and that kind of stuff that's underneath here. I'd like to touch quickly on my envisionment of what the cabinets are going to look like. Or back here. This is the back wall. The bed's right there. I want to put a closet that's right here basically, and then above this closet across the top I want to put cabinets, and then probably like a couple of reading lights that go underneath. And I've got a plug down here. I'll be able to hardwire those lights into. I was just thinking like a little pull chain light or something. But anyway, I wanted to give you that idea so you can understand the reasoning behind the way I'm going to lay this plywood out. So another thing I've got to do, and we'll have to do this through the whole coach, is the rafters, or I guess you call them rafters, I don't know, I'm gonna call them rafters. This 4-inch seat purling is not flat. I mean, if you get up on top and look at the roof, it's pretty flat, but it's not perfect. And the two reasons are, is when I built this coach, it was on like 5 blocks on each side. And the frame of it, the walls actually go like this. Now that's obviously exaggerated, it's not very much. If you look right down the top of the trim, you can just barely see it. You know, it's probably 1/8 of an inch or less. And then the seat purling is welded on this joint here. The two sides are not. And if this is twisted ever so slightly, it causes the bottom lip to be higher or lower. And anyway, my remedy to that, and I say all that, it's not much. I mean, we're talking about probably 1/8, maybe 3/16 of an inch at worst. But I was afraid if you put plywood up there and you paint it and make it look really slick, that you probably would see those bows, and that's not something I can deal with. So my remedy is I'm going to strip, what am I trying to say? Rip 2x4s in a roughly 5/8 of an inch thickness, and screw them to these seat panels, and the thickness of that, you know, either 5/8 or 1/2 inch or 3/4, depending on how high or low the rafter is. So we'll be able to square it up that way. All right, I've got all these different size shims cut. I'm going to put these up on the upper rafters. I'm going to put construction adhesive on them. And then just put a couple of self-tapping screws and sink the screws. And then after I put the actual plywood on the ceiling and run it in with these 1/4 inch bolts, that'll actually sandwich and hold everything tight. So I've gotten all these little wood spacer things up. And to the future builders, hindsight's 2020, I would say you need to work very hard at making sure all these are flat. I'm really not sure how much deviation it's going to take to be able to see a ripple in the ceiling. I have a hunch that it'll be very little, and for one, because of my lighting, I'm going to use these little, I don't know what I did with them, but flush mount, sort of like can lights without a can. And so the light's going to be projected very close to the ceiling. I think it'll be easy to see those ripples. The deviation in these is not much. In fact, the very back one is actually more, but it was by design. There's actually sort of a lip because the upper plywood doesn't sit on the last one. It's hard to explain. But anyway, The last one is up higher than the rest, but other than it, there's only a 1/4 of an inch maximum deviation from one end to the other. But it's you know, some of them sort of run downhill like this, some of them are all higher, some of them are lower, some of them run like this. And that's just become very confusing and very difficult to get straight. Anyway, I'm just going to take a planer, start marking these things and try to get it as good as I can. You know, if it wasn't something I wanted to look really nice, it's obviously, you know, reasonably close. You could just screw plywood up and be done, but I'm afraid that, you know, looking down the ceiling as you walk down this hall, it'll look terrible. So the next thing is I need a light in here, and this is the actual lights that I'm going to install through this coach. They are 120 volt. This is the driver for them, the ballast. I think you call these a driver because they're not really a current limiting device. They're a voltage limiting device. Anyway, these just take a 6-inch hole saw. If you'll remember, I've got a plug up here, and these are just going to plug in. And I've got the driver already put together with a little grandma extension cord, and they plug together. I've got the biggest hole saw that I think I've ever held in my hands, which is 6 1/8. So I guess I'm just going to put it about right here. I guess it doesn't matter exactly where, as long as I make the other match. I'm going to put another mate to it right across there. Drill a hole. And then the driver, the light plugs into the driver with this little polarized 3-prong plug. And then you just fold these spring things back. And it pops in. I like it. So I got this piece installed. There's a hole cut out down here. On a later date, when I start building cabinets, I'm going to build a cabinet door to go over that. I needed to leave a door in here because there's some plumbing connections, some T's in there, and also there's a duplex receptacle back behind here, and you stick your hand in there. That is where the little heat strips and stuff plug in to keep the plumbing from freezing. Alright, I want to show you a little deal I rigged up that's worked really well for cutting out the the plug and light switch holes.
The first thing you've got to do is measure where your plug's at. So we are 7 3/8 from the top and 7 5/8 from the side. So we'll make two marks. We'll make a 7 5/8 and a, I already forgot, what did I say? 7 3/8 from the top. I realize I put that in the wrong spot. So we are 7 5/8.
This is our top mark, this is our edge mark. So we'll lay this jig here, line up our edge mark and our top mark. Just eyeball this for square. You got to remember this is just a box opening. It needs to be in the right place, but perfectly square doesn't necessarily matter. Just like that. You got a couple of screws here.
Alright, two screws. Pull this out. Drill us a hole right in the center. Take a router and router it out. And you got a nice perfectly cut hole for a plug-in.
I'm going to lay a 1x over this joint here, glue it to both sides, wood screw it to this side, and then screw it into the metal stud right here. And that's going to be the inside lip of where the front face of the door will sit. And so I'm going to cover this joint here with a 1x. The same with the with this joint up here. I'm going to have cabinets that run all the way across that are about this tall, roughly something like that, just right above the window. You can store blankets and pillows and what have you above the bed. And this seam, I'm not going to tape and bed this seam. It's going to be, when you open the cabinets, you'll be able to see this seam, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I rattle on, but my point is neither this seam nor this seam will be visible when the room's done, and so I don't have to worry about them being as nice. Wish me luck. Well, as I hang this last piece of ceiling here, this is going to finish up this video. The next step is sort of going to be paint and tape and bed and that kind of stuff. I think it's really cool. I'm having a lot of fun with this whole YouTube deal. It's kind of neat, you know, to connect with people and all that are interested in the same kind of things and interested in building the same kind of things. It's really turned out to be a lot of fun. It's really pretty cool. I really appreciate all the people out there that take time to watch these and interact and ask questions and give ideas and all that. But anyway, I appreciate it. If you don't mind, like, share, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Give it a thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next one.